Hi, I'm Eric, and welcome to this In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11, or maybe you're watching this on YouTube or on our Facebook page. Maybe it's a Sunday morning and you're just listening to the audio on G101.3 or their sister station, ESPN Radio, 1490 AM, 100.9 FM, WKBV. However you are hearing this, thank you for taking some time to check out this In Focus. It is the first new In Focus program that I have done for a number of months. I need to start with a thank you to Sayward Salazar and IU East Professor of Business Tim Scales, who stepped in and hosted some new programming over the last few months. I appreciate them moving from the guest chair into the host chair and bringing you some conversations. I've said through the years that when In Focus started after PI Live ended, that I was never supposed to be the host of this program. My hope is that as we continue with In Focus over the next few months, maybe even years, that we can bring some of that other hosts into this chair to help bring more conversation and different voices into our conversations that we hold here. So thank you again to Sayward Salazar, Tim Scales for being hosts of In Focus as I took a little bit of time off. We are actually recording this program on the day you're seeing it, which is a little bit rare for us. So I want to start with a piece of news in case you have not heard it. On September 19th, a little earlier today at 12 o'clock, at the request of the judicial fire chiefs throughout Wayne County and the Wayne County Firefighters Association, the Wayne County Commissioners declared Wayne County to be in a state of local emergency due to the extremely dry conditions and have implemented a burn ban for all of Wayne County. This emergency is in effect until conditions improve, but will be reviewed and evaluated every 7 days. What this means is, one, the following activities are prohibited under the burn ban. Campfires and other recreational fires and ceremonial fires are prohibited. Open burning of any kind using conventional fuel, such as wood and other combustible matter, with the exception of grills fueled by charcoal briquettes or propane. The burning of debris, such as timber or vegetation, including such debris that results from construction activities. The use of burn barrels for any open burning at residential structures, the discarding of matches, ashes, or other burning materials from a vehicle. I was behind one just the other day. Somebody threw a lit cigarette out the window. It's very, very dry. We shouldn't do it on a regular basis, but as dry as it has been, we really want to avoid that, or the use or discharge of any aerial fireworks devices. This order does not prohibit the use of gas or charcoal grills used solely for the purpose of preparing food, fires within fireplaces, or fires within incinerators permitted by state law, if all such fires are closely attended while burning and properly extinguished. Persons who fail to observe or abide by the emergency order could be held liable for a fine of up to $2,500. If you have questions, you can reach out to Wayne County Emergency Management. Their number is 765-973-9399, or you can reach out to the Wayne County Commissioner's Office at 765-973-9327. Once again, at noon today, Wayne County, as with many other counties around us on both the Ohio and Indiana side of the borders, went in under a burn ban. It has been extremely dry. We have not seen anything in the way of measurable rain for well over a month. So it is very dry, so we do want to be careful. The information I'm about to pass on to you actually works to the conversation that we are having today with Wayne County Clerk Debbie Berry. Appreciate you being here. Voter registration ends on October 7th. Voter registration office at 301 East Main, that is the courthouse, that's Debbie's office, is still available 8:30 to 5 p.m. on Mondays, Tuesday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. It is very easy for you to register to vote, or even just to check your registration from the comfort of your home. IndianaVoters.com is where you need to go to do that. But if you need information and you want to reach out to somebody local, you can call the clerk's office, 765-973-9226. We are going to have our In Focus candidate forums coming up. Those start on October 3rd. Once again, we're working with our partners from the Western Wayne News and the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce. We have 4 scheduled. There are not a lot in the way of contested races on the political side of things, but we do have 3 contested school board races here in Wayne County. So we'll start off. We've invited candidates who are in the contested race in the Nettle Creek School Board. They're invited in on October 3rd. Northeastern Wayne School District B, they are invited in for October 10th. Western Wayne School Board at Large District D, that race is scheduled in on October 17th, and then on October 24th, we have sent out invitations to the 3 candidates that are running for 6th Congressional District. Greg Pence is not running for that seat, so this area will have a new congressperson. The 3 candidates that are running, one from the Democrat Party, one from the Republican Party, and a Libertarian, are on the ballot. We've invited them in for October 24th. So you can mark those on your calendar if those are any of your school districts. We will once again have our In Focus Election Night Special, again with our partners from Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce and Western Wayne News. We will go on the air at 6 p.m. We will be live from the lobby of Whitewater Hall here on the campus of Indiana University East. Feel free to join us. We will be on WGTV Channel 11. We will also be streaming live on our Facebook page, making it possible for you wherever you are around the area, or even beyond if you are out of the area on election night, want to know what's going on locally. That's a great way to tune in and find out what we're doing. We'll talk a little bit more about where and when you can do some of the registering and voting coming up as we begin our conversation with Debbie, but she has sat very patiently while I've run through some of this information, and I appreciate it. It is always great to talk to you. You have always been incredibly generous with your time in order to be able to fill in our community on when voting takes place, what they need to do, how to check their registration, and that type of thing. So it is good to see you.
Thank you, Eric, for asking me over.
This is, and we'll get into this a little bit more, but this will be your last election that you oversee. We were talking before we went on the air. This will be your 11th year as Wayne County Clerk, a feat that many people have not been able to do because that is a term-limited situation. Talk a little bit about how you got 11 years when most people only get 8.
Well, the clerk before me resigned after her first year of her second term. So she was planning to move out of state, so she had to resign because you have to live within Wayne County to be an elected official. So I was caucused in to finish her term, so those first 3 years were someone else's elected term, not mine. And so then I ran and won for 2 elected terms, which gave me my 8 years under my term limits. So
let's talk a little bit first about what people need to know in terms of this election, and then I want to talk to you before we're out again about the clerk's office, what it does. We know, and you know, we have people move into our area quite often, even though our population's not growing. We do still have people move in. They come from other areas, and voting and how that's handled and what the clerk does in other areas outside of this state are not always the same. So it's good that we are able to introduce people to what some of our elected officials do here. So I want to be able to do that later. But let's talk about this election. We're doing this on the day that people are seeing this as a premiere, so September 19th. Again, you were telling me before we went on the air, there were some things that your office was wrapping up today.
yes, today we administered the oath to the absentee judges who, you know, the ballots have been certified. So in order for us to send those ballots out for applications that received requesting a mail-in ballot, they have to have the judge's signature, a Democrat and a Republican, not signature, initials, on the back for them to be a valid ballot. So we got all of those people sworn in, and they signed the backs of ballots that, you know, will be sent out. As we have the applications, then we send them their ballot. We mark it in the SVRS system so that we can track that a ballot was sent to them. And if they call in and say, I haven't received my ballot, we definitely have sent one. So, you know, we'll give it time to get there, and then if it doesn't, then we'll have to, you know, send them another ballot or have them come into the office and resign off of the first ballot that we sent. So it's just a process. Once we get the application, We log it into SVRS, which is our statewide voter registration system.
Okay.
And then it's there counted, and then when it comes in, we have to put the date that we received it back, so that, you know, only one ballot per voter goes out. We track those with the whole statewide system does that. So, you know, our system, the Indiana Voters Registration, statewide voters registration system, is a model state when it comes to election security. So
In what way?
Just for security and for being able to track those type of documents that come in, for all of that is in. You know, the minute we get a registration, we log it in. People who register with the BMV, it goes into a hopper, and then it is sent to my office if they're in Wayne County, or if they're in Monroe County or Randolph County. I don't see those. They, you know, the ones that go to my county come to my county. And so then they're put in, and then we do a statewide search to make sure that we notify the county where they previously were registered, that they are registered in our county. When an individual registers, they will be asked the question where they registered last. And then if it is out of state, not just, you know, within Indiana, we contact that state also. So, and on the form, it specifically says, you know, if you do not give the true and correct, that it's a penalty
Okay.
of prison or, you know, misdemeanor. So, illegal immigrants, same process, you know, and with them, if they register to vote, they can lose their status, you know. So it's we review all of the statewide systems that we can look at, including driver's license and things, to make sure that, you know, what we have on them is correct.
So you mentioned that the judges today were actually signing the ballot. Are they individually signing they're initialing each of the absentee ballots that go out?
Yes.
How many absentee ballots, just out of curiosity, on an average, how many absentee ballots has your office sent in an average general election?
Well, it depends on what type of election it is.
Okay.
Because, you know, if it's a presidential election, and of course in 2020, not only was it a presidential election that was delayed because of COVID, if you remember.
I do.
We had like 3,800
Okay.
mail-in ballots. That was a lot. But on the normal average, I would say 1,400 to 1,500 ballots.
That's still a pretty good
That's
number.
still a good number. That is still a good number. So, yeah, and then, of course, you know, on Election Day, early voting, we might be getting ahead of things here, but
You're right.
all of those that are cast before Election Day are absentee voting ballots and have to be placed in an absentee envelope, and then those have to be opened also. So now the number of envelopes that we open is quite a few.
Your absentee ballots, whether they are a mail ballot or whether it is an in-person absentee ballot, we'll talk about that a little bit. When can those be opened, and when can you all actually do anything with those?
The state statute allows us to start opening them now after 6 a.m. Now, we usually aren't quite ready to open them at that
After
time.
6 a.m. on
On
election
election day. We cannot
so
open
ballots that you all get, even if you get them 2-3 weeks ahead of time, they're put in a box, they're set on the side, and you all can't really do anything with those until election day.
They're put in a box, and they're under lock. They're in our locked ballot room under security.
Okay.
And so they are not opened until Election Day. Now, we do check those because we have to look at that signature and what signature we have on file for that individual. And then the judges have to approve that it is that individual. And sometimes signatures will change a little bit with age,
Yes.
you know.
I was going to mention that. So
And, you know, also if we mail absentee ballots to nursing homes or assisted living areas, those individuals, their signature may change a little bit if they've had a stroke or been sick, you know, then are not feeling well, then their signature may be shaky. you know. So we have to take all that into consideration, you know, when the judges look at those. So it's a long process. It's a tedious process. We have some really dedicated people that look at those and evaluate those as they come in. They, you know, compare those signatures.
As you are heading into this election, once again, it's a presidential year, you expect maybe the numbers will go up at least a little bit because of that. Just mentioned that we don't have a lot in the way of local races necessarily, but obviously the national races, the governor's race, the state races that are going on are going to bring people out. We expect maybe, we hope, always for a better turnout. We hope more of our citizens actually show up and do this. But in terms of the help, you all have to be prepared for large numbers of voters because you want to move them in and out. Talk about the, I'll call them jobs, the positions that people can have in terms of working with voting and how they are selected to be able to do that or how they can volunteer to do that.
Okay. Well, actually, recently in the last 2 years, since we have went to paper ballots, we cross-train our judges and our clerks. Clerks are the poll workers that the voter sees first thing when they walk in the room and check in with the e-poll books. Those are clerks. And then the clerk will send them to the next table of judges who print their ballot for them. And then the voters either drop it in the ballot box or scan it on election day. They can, if they vote on election day, they scan their own ballot. So all of our clerks and judges are cross-trained. That way they can be floaters, like, you know, if one of the judges, and they're bipartisan, we have one from each major party. And so if the Republican judge goes to lunch, they can't leave the vote center, but we do have a room to side at each vote center for them to eat. Then that other individual who has been cross-trained, that's a Republican, can go and sit and, you know, do that job there. And it gives them an opportunity by them being cross-trained. It also gives them opportunity to move around and do some different work because it's a long day, especially on election day. So it kind of gives them a variety of what they can do and how they can help. It helps the day go a little bit faster. And if a voter needs assistance, they have to have one from each party go with them, you know, to help. They can't, just one person can't go and tell a voter how to vote. They, you know, they can assist, but they can't vote for them. So that way there's no question. Both of them are there. There's a piece of paper that they have to fill out to assist them. And so we have voters and clerks, floaters, clerks, and judges, and they go to the vote center, and then we have an inspector who is like the manager of the vote center that assists, and like if a ballot has to be spoiled or anything like that, that is when they go up. If someone comes in and say they registered and we can't find them in our e-poll book, then they go to the inspector. So they're like the manager who helps them, gets in touch, you know, with the voters registration office on election day or during early voting. If they need more supplies, we have individuals that take those out, you know, to the vote centers. So there's, you know, a traveling board that goes to the nursing homes and things. We send them out. So there's several positions. So if you're interested in being a poll worker, you can call our office, or you can call either party, the Wayne County Democrat Party or the Wayne County Republican Party, and let them know there that you're interested. They'll let their person who is appointed to my board know, and they'll give them a call and find out, you know, if they've been trained, if they need training. Everybody gets trained every year, even if it's as a review, but the new poll workers, we do want to take some special time, and, you know, our previous people who've been trained, they kind of help us with hands-on and let them watch what they do at the training. And then today, the books that has all the people who signed up and wanted to be poll workers, and every year at training, now like this year at training, we'll say are you interested in working in the next election? And they can sign up, even though there's not an election in 25, they can sign up for the election coming up in 26, so they'll be contacted. But today we gave those representatives on the board the books of and phone numbers of everyone who has been or wants to be a poll worker, so they'll be calling. And then our training is coming up on the 19th
Of
of
October.
October.
So what is the deadline if somebody is even thinking about wanting to assist, wanting to be a poll worker, a judge, or an inspector? What's the date that they're up against to be able to reach out to your office or to a party representative?
October the 18th.
Okay. Up
Because-
until the last minute.
Yeah, because, they can still come to the training and be listed as an alternate.
Okay.
And if we have poll workers, I mean, there's not a deadline by statute.
Okay.
But if they want to be a poll worker, they can certainly be trained. And even we have 1 day training in like 4 different sessions. And since they are cross-trained, it's a pretty easy training process because we have 3 sessions that's for clerks and judges. So the inspectors, they have a separate training, and it's pretty much in depth, because they have to learn how to spoil ballots and log them and things like that. But do address changes, so. But until the 18th, if they want to become, they just let us know, and we'll, list them as an alternate. They may not get to work this election.
Okay.
But certainly, to have that knowledge and be ready, we want to train them.
Our studios and offices are obviously on the campus of Indiana University East. Maybe there's political science students or something who might want to volunteer to assist. Is there an age that they need to be? Do they have to be a resident of Wayne County in order to be able to assist? And what would some of our young people need to know in order to be able to do this? And this is a commitment of time, because this is not, and you mentioned if they go to lunch, they can't leave. This is a come in and you're there all day type of thing. This is not I can volunteer to do a half day type situation.
Nope, it is an all-day thing, but because Election Day is a long day, last year and this year we are doing half days.
Ah, okay.
Because we just, it was hard to get older poll workers who could be there at 5 a.m. and stay till 7, after everything is done and everyone's been waited on. So we did split it up we are doing half days.
What about ages? What about students maybe who have come to IU East from outside the area but feel like they would like to help?
Well, if they are 18 years old and a registered voter, then they can be a poll worker. Now, there is a special process that 17-year-olds can become poll workers and vote if they're going to be 18 by Election Day. So if they, through their school, there's a special program, and we've tried to reach out to some of those, and we haven't had much success here in Richmond with that, but we have reached out to try to get some younger poll workers.
You're watching or listening to In Focus on WGTV Channel 11. We're having a conversation with Wayne County Clerk Debbie Berry, working her final election. Let's do a couple of things real quick. You mentioned the traveling board. Just speak a little bit about that, because I don't know that, again, as we talk to people from outside the area, we don't know that every community has something like that. Talk a little bit about that and how that gets set up.
Traveling board, we have poll workers that, have for several years worked on our traveling board. Those individuals, which it's 2 judges that go out to shut-ins, people who are sick, who are shut in. Even through COVID, we had a process where we took their ballot to them, they put it in a Ziploc baggie and laid it outside on the porch. We couldn't go in and put our poll workers at risk, but we put the ballot in a Ziploc baggie inside the door. They got it, voted on it, and then when they waited outside, and when they put it out, then they handled it with gloves and brought it back to the office. We sprayed those, and had a process, you know, so that we could handle the bag, and we had to leave them. We couldn't take them out of the bag for 24 hours. So, you know, we want to make sure everyone that needs to vote, wants to vote, can vote. So we have a traveling board that goes, Democrat and a Republican, and will assist the voter in voting. We also set them up to go to nursing homes that week of early voting every day. We have teams that go out to the nursing homes. We work with the activities directors. They're bringing in requests now, you know, the applications for those ballots.
Okay.
We just provide that service. Most counties in Indiana, I believe, do that from just conversations I've had with other clerks.
Okay.
But we've always provided that service. If there is someone, a Wayne County voter, which we have done, that is in another hospital in Indianapolis,
Sure.
we send them. We send them to, you know, if they're
You actually have people that will travel to a hospital in Indianapolis to make sure a person has a chance to vote.
If it's a Wayne County voter in Henry County Hospital or Randolph County Hospital, they can't vote in that county. They're registered in our county. So if they haven't been able to vote by mail, then we have that traveling board who will go out and help them vote.
Talk about what you need people to know as they look at this ballot or this election. What do voters need to be thinking about? What do you want them to know as they begin this process? And for some people, it may be their first time voting. It may be their first time voting in a while.
Yeah. Well, you know, I jokingly tell people there's two things we do every May and November. That's vote and pay taxes. How can you not remember that, you know? And when you start getting all those things in the mail, you know it's election time. You'll see the political signs going up. So, you know,
it's still amazing the number of people who say, I didn't know that there was an election coming up, though. You hear that.
Is. Yeah, we do, you know. And, and of course, we'll have the ballot in the paper, you know, our website. There's wonderful links on our website to different things that they can look at, especially the state election division. But they just need to go and hear the candidates talk, watch shows like In Focus, and, you know, hear what the candidate's platform is and the changes they want to make or the successes that they want to be. And we can't refer them or tell them who to vote for. You know, that's not what we're there for. We're bipartisan to serve all the voters of Wayne County. But they just, you know, I want them to know that when they mark the ballot, to stay within the square the best that you can. You know, you don't have to fill it up from line to line. If you fill it 2/3 full, draw a circle in it and fill a circle in as long as it's in that. And just, read the ballot. If it says vote for one, vote for one. If it says vote for three, that doesn't mean you have to vote for all three, but you may vote for three. But if there's six, don't vote for six. Just read the ballot, you know. But, and, you know, there's a process even after that. If you mark the ballot wrong, don't go and put it in the scanner and then say, I did that wrong. Go back to the inspector or the judge, let them spoil your ballot, and you can have up to 3, you know, but we have to spoil the one.
Potentially spoiled ballots in one. I go in, I messed up again. You all have a way of handling that.
Yes, and but once you put it in the box, you're done.
You're done.
You're done. We can't spoil it. We're not allowed to touch it, because those are all locked, and then those don't come back until after the election's over. You know, voting hours are over. So if they mess it up or if they have a question, just ask, because we can give you the correct ballot that will get counted correctly. But
we've mentioned that you can register easily. We mentioned obviously doing it online. We mentioned doing it in your office, but you mentioned the BMV. What are the accepted places, I guess I will ask, that people can register to vote? There's been a lot of conversation, obviously, about voter safety, people handling ballots correctly and incorrectly. There are organizations every year who want to help with voter registration. How do you all handle those ballots that come in? They're not done by your office. So how do you know that the signatures are right and that everything is handled well?
So are we talking about ballots or registrations?
Registrations.
Okay. So registrations, when people bring registrations in, and at a lot of the fall festivals, at the tents and stuff, you know, they will be registering people to vote. That's perfectly fine, because whoever registers you has to fill out a form when they come in our office. So when we see that form is completed, if we have any questions or if we have to have a hearing, you know, and we do have hearings. Our election board has had to have hearings where we get a questionable registration, or maybe they've registered 5 times and sent in 5 registrations. And it happens because they'll go to these festivals and they just think they're supposed to register at every one. You know, they want to make sure they're registered. So that person, that individual that brings those in, there's a form, a state form that they have to fill out, and we keep that and list everyone's ballot that they brought in. And we'll list the names on it for them if they don't flip the form over and list it, you know, because we want to know who to contact. And then if we have a hearing and they come in, then we will validate, you know, the registration that needs to be validated. But we pay very close attention to those when they come in. If they have more than one, then that's a red flag.
We've talked a lot about the poll workers and the folks that help. The conversation, the answers you've given me have been very much, we have 2 people. We have one Democrat, we have one independent. We know that there are people in our community who really don't call themselves a Democrat or a Republican. They are an independent. They're a libertarian. How does someone in those positions, they aren't aligned with one of the 2 major parties, what is their chance to help with our local election?
Well, in all honesty, I respect those people who are of other parties and have a different voice than, you know, the majority. But that's the key word. There are 2 majority parties, and so by statute, we have to fulfill those positions by the majority parties. Okay. So, and, you know, I wanted to say, too, on September 30th, at 1 o'clock, we will be having, at 10 o'clock a.m. on the 30th, we'll be having our public test for our ballot. So that's,
and what is that?
That's a public meeting where we actually take ballots, blank ballots, and we mark them. The board marks them, our election vendor marks them, and it is open to any candidates that want to come. We have the party chairs there. Representing their candidates on the ballot. Okay. The board is there. There is some public there, but it's an interesting process if you want to see how we're going to count ballots on Election Day. That's a great opportunity. But we mark every ballot, every candidate, make sure that, you know, the votes are being cast, every candidate's name is being read on the ballots. We do some overvotes. So like if the ballot says vote for 1, we'll mark some vote for 2 or 3 to make sure that our equipment is counting those ballots properly. So that's a real educational thing if people want to come and watch, you know, that process.
How long a process is? About how long does that take? Are you all able to wrap that up in half hour? 2 hours?
It's usually an hour or less, depending on the ballot. I mean, you know, the size of the ballot. We try to do one for each precinct, at least one, and we have 59 precincts. So we want to make sure that, you know, every one of those pins are being read in the scanner. So that's a good time for people to come and see too.
You're watching In Focus. We're having a chance to have conversation with Debbie Berry about upcoming election, all the things that you need to know. Obviously, you can go to the clerk's website if you need to find out any more information about voting, sample ballot, all of that information is available on the website. If maybe you're just really into this and you even want to know what the deadlines for candidates are in terms of needing to file their financial information and things of that nature, all of that is on the clerk's website, and we do very much ask you to go there and check that information out, because it is available, and we want people to be able to avail themselves of the information that your office has put up.
Well, I will say that the ballot that is on my website, it's like 158 pages, so I don't want folks and voters to think that,
Don't hit download.
Yeah, it is.
Or print.
That's every precinct. They're able to see. You have to know your precinct, that you live in, and then if you know your precinct, you can see your actual sample ballot, which like the ones that I brought today to show you. So,
and they have sample on them.
Yes,
which is very important.
Yes.
What else do you want people to know heading into this? Is there anything that we have missed that the public needs to be aware of heading into this? And again, we mentioned you can register to vote until October 7th. You can do that at the clerk's office. You can do that also at indianavoters.com. If you don't want to leave home, but you still want to make sure you are registered to vote, it ends on October 7th. Voter registration office there, 301 East Main Street. It's basically the courthouse, second floor of the courthouse, or you can do it online, indianavoters.com.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about, is there anything that we're missing before I kind of move on to your time in the clerk's office? Is there anything else that you need people to know? Have we hit all of the important dates? And obviously, if there are questions, you can call the clerk's office.
I think I'll probably remember 'em when I get in the car, but I think we've covered everything.
If we can get you back beforehand, we definitely will. Talk a little bit about your 11 years in this office. One, we've seen a lot of change in how voting is done. We've had electronic systems. We've gone from electronic system, some people would say backwards, to paper ballots. Good, bad, everybody has their feelings about it. Talk a little bit about what you've learned in your time in the clerk's office, particularly compared to what you knew when you stepped into that office.
Well, I have worked in public service since August of 1984. So I've always worked in the elections. I've been an inspector before in the elections. And so I kind of knew what the elections requirements were, but I had no idea, about all the details and how much preparation. We've been working on the presidential election since July. I mean, it's just huge. There's a lot to do, a lot of work, thinking about the candidates coming in and filing and their questions and their financial reports and the hearings that we have to set if they don't, there's, it's a big job. It's a big job. And then when you get to election day, it's important that you have electricity, to scan those ballots. So, I mean,
that's an important feature.
That's an important feature.
We're sitting in the lobby of Whitewater Hall going, are they going to get us numbers anytime soon?
I know. So, our election equipment, when I became clerk in 2014, we had what we call DREs, which are electronic, you vote on with the electronic machine. Mm-hmm. So they were lifelined out, and we were going to have new equipment by 2023, and we were required, and all of Indiana still is required, to have a voter paper trail with those ballots. So we had so many people that struggled with voting with machines, turning the dial, and then when they would go back and review their ballot, when they turned that dial, they would change where they voted.
Okay.
So our community, the people that we have here, we have a lot of retired people, because when our graduates graduate and go to college, they go to other cities, for opportunities that right now just aren't offered here in Richmond, the kind of opportunities that they're looking for. So, my election vendor and my board and myself, when we looked at the different types of machines that were available and the paper ballots, we felt like the full ballot printing out and not using a type of card. Some counties, they have paper ballots, but they look more like a lottery ticket. It's not a punch card, but they are more of just a little narrow square card. And we just felt like our voters would be more successful with actually writing on the ballot. So I worked with the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State, through a grant, purchased our voting equipment. We saved, our taxpayers $2.5 million by going through the Secretary of State because they bought in bulk.
That's big.
And that was huge. And so
I'm sure the county council went, thank you, Debbie.
yes, but and most of our voters, I know some people feel like we step back, but with election security and integrity, I think we made the best choice for our community. And even though we are manually marking the ballot, we can count those ballots very quickly with our scanners that the Secretary of State's office, we don't have to count them one by one and put them in a scanner one at a time. Okay. We've purchased 2 scanners that we can count 500 ballots in 6 minutes. So
nice.
So we don't have to be here till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yay.
Yeah. So, our primary election, it even with the problems that we had on Election Day, we still had our numbers pretty quick that night.
You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We're spending some time with Wayne County Clerk Debbie Berry. We talked to you a lot about elections, but the clerk's office is about so much more than that. Can you touch on how much the clerk's office is actually involved in?
Well,
you can. Would you please?
Well, Eric, the clerk's office is really the hub of our Wayne County courts. And, I was at a conference and one of the chief justices from the Indiana Supreme Court told the clerks there, said, justice begins in the clerk's office. And it really does, because that is where you come to, make your filings. That is where you follow your case. Since I've been clerk, we went to a statewide court management program called Odyssey. All of the 92 counties now use Odyssey. It is designed by the Indiana Supreme Court justices, and it fits all 92 counties. So it's not streamlined just to fit Wayne County. So it's a huge program. So we did move to that. We didn't wait. We weren't the last ones to move to it. So our 4 courts, we have Superior 1, 2, 3, and the Circuit Court. And then we have the 4D Court and the Small Claims Court also. So even though we have 4 courts, we have like 6 courtrooms. And so all of those cases are filed in the clerk's office. And now we have e-filing, where attorneys, we used to see maybe 20 attorneys a day, and we may see 2 a couple times a week, because they can file from home or their office. Their staff can file their cases. They don't have to bring them in. We don't have all that paperwork. Since I've been clerk, we have digitized literally 1 million pieces of paper.
I was going to ask about that. I know back in 2019, 2020 or so, we were talking, and that was a process to try to get a lot of that archival paperwork digitized. And I was going to ask you how that process is. Has it wrapped up?
It will be wrapping up, thankfully, before my term is over. That was, my goal, that we could do that I wouldn't leave that, behind for that to be done. So we just had a pickup yesterday. And we'll get ready and have another pickup. We'll probably, it'll probably be October, end of October, 1st of November, but we're moving forward. They are all on the portal, so now we can look those up on the portal. We don't have to go to the basement and go through paper files. So, and there's some glitches. I mean, depending on who scanned those. In South Bend, the company that we're using, some of them put the 3 zeros before the last 3 numbers, and some of them didn't, because used to, it was, our court calls numbers are based on our county. All of them start with 89 for Wayne County.
Right.
And then it'll be like the court, Superior 1, 2, 3, or circuit. Then the year, then the month, and then the case type, and then a 6-digit number. Well, used to it was a 3-digit number, but when we went statewide, it's a 6-digit. So sometimes they still just use those 3 numbers. So depending on who scanned it. So we're having to go back and critique some of those, but my staff checks each one of those. Chief Deputy, she's kind of headed that up and lets them know, what is missing or hasn't come back, or where is it, and search it, and it's usually the number. Someday, not right now immediately, someday that portal will be open to the public where they can go in and find those cases themselves and then just say, I need a certified copy. But right now we look them up for them because, it's a little bit of in-depth searching. Right now it's not, so we're critiquing all those and finalizing those. And that, that connection, we work with the auditor's office and the recorder's office. We're now accepting wills in the clerk's office because...
You're now accepting...
Wills.
I'm not familiar. Talk to me.
Well, when people prepared their will, sometimes they would have it recorded because we didn't accept them.
Okay, will. Okay.
Yeah. We did not get them until an estate was filed.
Okay.
But now we're accepting, if a person has an attorney file a will, we're accepting them in the clerk's office. We have it all set up to accept those now. People used to want to file them just to have them recorded somewhere besides with their attorney, because attorneys, prepare those wills and they keep them and then search the obituaries. And then when a person does pass, become deceased, then they notify whoever's in the will and read the will, and they file an estate. That's how that process works. So now they can file those in our office, and they will always be confidential. They won't be opened until whoever filed them on their behalf comes in and shows us the death certificate. And
how many people actually work in the clerk's office? You've got to have a staff, because you've got a group that's handling the election. You've got child support payments and other garnishments that come through your office. What's your staffing like?
I have 28.
Whoa.
28 in 3 offices. So our voters registration mostly does voters registration. The clerks, it used to be called small claims traffic. We still call it small claims traffic, but its most original name is Clerk Superior 3, because everyone that works with Superior 3 or the small claims traffic court downstairs or the juvenile court is now in that office. We moved everything with Superior 3 over there. So the criminal Superior 3, the juvenile Superior 3, the evictions, small claims, traffic are all over there now. And then in the clerk's, what we call the main office, is Superior 1, criminal, civil, and estates and probate. Same for each one of the higher courts that are upstairs, Circuit 1 and 2. And then child support payments is in the clerk's main office. Marriage license is in the clerk's main office.
We haven't talked marriage.
Yeah, and all of the bookkeeping, of course, all the budget stuff. We have the chief deputy, she's the head bookkeeper, and then we have an assistant bookkeeper because since I've taken the clerk's office, we now accept credit cards for traffic fines, for judgments, filing fees, marriage license fees. So we do use credit cards now, and that's been a big advancement. Superior 3 is very happy with me for that. So yeah.
It's always good to keep the judges happy, isn't it?
Yeah. So because there's just a lot of little things, and the collection of that, if people don't pay them, is time consuming and difficult. So people will put them on a credit card. So, state, Wayne County courts, you know, we're done with that.
So have you kind of thought
Bonds?
about what's next for you? Have you thought about when you step away from the office? I know you were in real estate even prior to this. You've done this for 11 years. You're just going to find a beach someplace and sit? Or is there more service to the community that you're thinking about? And if you don't want to share, don't share. But
Oh, no, I'm happy to share. There's plenty of volunteer opportunities, with my church. It's a growing church, and so there's plenty of things to do there that I can volunteer with. But I've worked my entire adult life since I was 17, and so it's time. I want to have a 6-day Saturday for a few weeks and see how that goes. But no, I'll always help people, and I love people. I would like to find something to do. I'm not a beach person, but I don't know if the opportunity come up to move to the Smoky Mountains, I would look at that. So yeah, but no, I don't really have any plans. Just gonna see what doors open, or just do my home projects that I need to get done, and just see what I want to do.
have we covered everything that you feel like the community needs to know as we head into, obviously we're dealing with the election, but anything as we're heading to the end of the year that might touch your office that the community might need to know about that you want to make sure we are aware of?
Nope. I just hope that anybody that comes in and has a transaction with the clerk's office, that we're able, in the worst of circumstances, to try to make it a pleasant visit to the clerk's office. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of happy campers in the clerk's office. They've either been arrested or having to pay a traffic fine or bonding someone out. Where's my bond money coming back from? I mean, except for the marriage license counter. They always come in.
Well, I would hope that they would come in smiling at least a little.
I've been walking out, at lunchtime, or had an errand to run, or going to pick up something, or taking ballots to the post office, and there'll be a couple just coming up, just smiling. I say, "Are you here to get a marriage license?" And they say, "How did you know?" I said, "I can just tell. I can just tell," because that they're the happy ones, but. A lot of people that come into the clerk's office have problems, so we try to listen. We're not attorneys. We can't give legal advice, but we try to at least refer them to somewhere where they can get some help.
What's been the most fun about this position for you?
The most fun is just talking to people and meeting people and serving the people. I've done that for 40 years now, so.
Is that what you'll miss most? Is there anything about the office, about the people, about the courthouse that
well, I tell
you spend a lot of time there?
I have. I know. One of my friends, I said, "Well, it's going to be all Saturdays now instead of working." She said, "What are you talking about? You work on Saturdays." But no, I told my staff, I said, "I'm not going to be one of those clerks that you don't never see. I'm going to come back and help with the elections, and I'm going to come check on you and bring you donuts once in a while." So,
all right. Donuts. Debbie Berry, Wayne County Clerk for the last 11 years, coming to the end of the run.
Yep.
Once you get us through the 2024 election. Thank you very much. You've always been incredibly gracious with your time.
Thank you.
The staff in your office has always been very helpful, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Eric.
I want to remind you again that you still have time to register to vote. You can do that until October 7th. You can do it at the voter registration office in the Wayne County Clerk's Office, 301 East Main Street, Mondays, 8:30 to 5, Tuesday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. Also, check your voting status at indianavoters.com. Don't forget that we will have our general election in focus candidate forums beginning October 3rd. Nettle Creek School Board race on October 3rd, October 10th, the Northeastern Wayne Schools, District B, October 17th, Western Wayne School Board at Large, District D, and then on October 24th, United States Representative, District 6. Be sure to join us on election night, beginning at 6 p.m. for our election night special. That is being made possible with the support of our partners at the Wayne County Area Chamber of Commerce and the Western Wayne News. Also want to remind you about voting when that starts, because we're going to be coming up on that very quickly. You can start at the courthouse, voting at the courthouse from October 8th through October through November 1st. Again, those same hours that I gave you before. Monday, 8:30 to 5. Tuesday, 8:30 to 4:30. There will also be 2 Saturdays when it is open, October 26th and November 2nd. That is from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And Debbie reminded me that if you don't vote early on any of the days that we gave you, there is one more day, the day before Election Day, on Monday, November 4th, where you can vote in the courthouse from 8:30 until noon that day. That will be an in-voting absentee voting day. Then, of course, there is what we call early voting. It's still absentee voting, but it's early voting. Those hours are going to be Friday, October 28th through November 1st, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. There will be 4 locations: First Bank Coleman Center, the Golay Center, First English Lutheran Church, and Hagerstown New Testament Church. I mentioned 2 Saturdays for the clerk's office where you can do some voting. Those will also be available at the Coleman Center, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That is Saturday, October 26th. Also Saturday, November 2nd. Then there is, of course, General Election Day, when we do early voting. Again, not every county in Wayne County does this, but we were one of the first 3 counties that actually did this as a trial, and we have continued it, and I think it has worked out very well. And then, of course, there is Election Day, November 5th, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 8 locations to be able to vote: First Bank Coleman Center, First English Lutheran Church, Hagerstown New Testament Church, Golay Center, Mount Olive Baptist Church, Life Spring North Church, First Baptist Church in Richmond, and Centerville Christian Family Center. Definitely be sure to check that out. We encourage you, we do really encourage you to get registered and vote. We're not telling you who to vote for. You don't have to pull a ballot for a party in the general election. We just encourage you to vote. I also want to remind you, a burn ban went into effect on September 19th, today at noon. It was put into effect by the Wayne County and Wayne County Firefighters Association and the fire chiefs around the area all got together and with the Wayne County Commissioners decided to do that. There is an Eastern Indiana Works Veterans Resource Fair taking place on September 26th. That's from 1 to 4 at the First Bank Center at the Wayne County Fairgrounds. Also, This, That, and the Other Works by Ed Thornburg. That is available to see at RAM through September 28th. Be sure to check that out, and got to throw some love to RCT for High School Musical Junior, September 27th through the 29th, October 4th through the 6th. Lots going on. Thank you again, Debbie Berry, for being here. Thank you for watching or listening to this week's In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. Ryan, we made it. I wish you well.